I'm taking you behind the scenes of something very personal, which is the planning of my wedding this August and highlighting the unexpected ways that it has also mirrored my own priorities as a business owner, from timelines and vision boards to the dance floor and dress fittings. I have discovered some powerful lessons about building a business that's both intentional and intuitive. And today I'm sharing the 5 things that wedding planning has highlighted for me about creating anything meaningful, whether it's a launch, a retreat, or an entirely new season in your work. So if you've been craving more simplicity, more alignment with your values, and a reminder that your way is the way, listen in. Welcome to Herself, a space for women to have deep conversations about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential, so you can become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. After being in business for over 2 decades, I've learned, as you likely have too, that as you grow your business grows you in unexpected, often challenging, yet miraculous ways. Here, we'll talk about how to get out of your own way so you can grow a business that's abundant and sustainable while allowing you to be a force for good in the world. I'll give you simple, actionable strategies as well as wisdom and inspiration to help you root into your wholeness, lead from your values, and work in ways that feel deeply aligned so you can bring your true self into the world through your business and in every area of your life. In just a few weeks in early August, I am getting married. And honestly, this has been a dream of mine since I was a small girl. I remember I played with Barbies like maybe way longer than one is supposed to. I think maybe until I was like 16, but having just so many weddings with Barbie and just always kind of imagining what this day would look and feel like for me. And now it's almost here. And, I can really see now that waiting until this stage of my life, into my late 40s, to get married has been such a gift. And I'm glad that I didn't get married earlier. I had a very full life prior to this. I've learned a lot, and I'm coming into this commitment with much, much greater self-awareness, a really strong sense of my own independence and my own self-sufficiency, and being able to enter into partnership with real sovereignty and not dependency, and really just waiting to meet the right kind of man. And, my partner was really, really worth the wait. And last May, after we got engaged, we went out to dinner with some of our friends to celebrate our engagement. And one of them got us a card that said, "After much trial and error, you have finally found the one." And I just couldn't stop laughing. That just felt very, very true. And, by this time in life, I'm in my late 30s. He's in his mid 50s. We know who we are, and we know who we are together. And that foundation has made planning our wedding feel really good and feel really fluid. And we just have felt really like we're on the same team throughout it all. And I've noticed in this process, since we started planning the wedding last May after we got engaged, that there's a lot of parallels between planning a wedding and running a business. Like the skills, the mindset, the intentionality, they're all remarkably similar. And today I wanted to highlight some of those 5 key ways that wedding planning is similar to creating anything meaningful, really, in business and in life. So let's start with lesson number 1. And lesson number 1 is to start early and then re-engineer from there. So lesson 1 is to start early and reverse engineer your vision. So we started planning our wedding over a year in advance. We got engaged in May of 2024, and our wedding is in August of 2025. And something that you may or may not know about me is that I really do not like to cram. I've never been one to cram, whether that was in school or writing any of my books, or definitely not planning a major life event like my wedding. I'm someone who needs space, who needs time to breathe and iterate and refine, and just to be kind to my body and just to my whole nervous system. So we started just creating some Google Docs, and we didn't use a fancy project management system, but just some simple lists of, okay, what do we need to do for our finding our vendors? What do we need to do for our ceremony, for our reception? And month by month, we just had a general outline of what needed to happen. And we reverse engineered from our wedding date all the way back to where we were, just really looking at the key milestones along the way. And this is exactly how I approach my offers, my launches, my content planning. When I'm designing a new program launch or a book launch, I start with the end vision and work backwards and see, well, if this is coming out on this date, what needs to happen now? What needs to happen 2 months from now? What needs to happen a week out from this coming into being? Because when you reverse engineer and build in buffers, you're not just avoiding last minute stress. You're just giving yourself permission to breathe and to make sure that you're not dropping any balls, and you're creating space for inspiration, for those micro details or refinements that can only emerge when you're not operating from a state of total panic. So whether you're launching a course or planning a retreat, just treat it like you're planning a wedding and give yourself that gift of some time and spaciousness and putting that extra planning in place right from the start. So lesson number 2 is to get clear on the experience that you want to create. And early on, we sat down and we asked ourselves, well, what do we actually want our wedding to feel like? Not what our wedding's supposed to be like, but what would actually feel really meaningful and really fulfilling for both of us. And something that we both love is we love hosting dinner parties, and we often invite friends over for dinner, and we cook for them, and we light candles, and we have deep conversations, and we envisioned something similar for our wedding. We wanted to have a feel of like an intimate dinner party with long tables with candles and our immediate family and closest friends, so about 50 people total. Overall, we wanted it to feel really warm and connected and just really celebratory of who we are as a couple and what is important for us. Drawing this now to the business parallel, this is a question that I really encourage all my clients to ask about their businesses is, what types of experiences do you want to curate? What types of experiences do you enjoy leading and being part of? And instead of trying to be in all the places doing all the things, YouTube, Threads, TikTok, whatever new platform is emerging, what if you focused on like 1 or 3 core channels or projects that feel really nourishing and aligned with who you are and help you to kind of create the kind of experience that you want to have for yourself, that you want to invite people into, and to really design experiences that feel like you and not what's trending. And your people will find you when you are being yourself and not when you're just trying to do what everyone else is doing and be like everyone else. Lesson number 3 is to invest in your top values, So when it came to our budget, we got really clear on what mattered most to us. And for me, that was my dress, and that was the food, that was making sure we have dancing, and yes, champagne. And I'm not a drinker, but I do love champagne. And I wanted to have a champagne toast at our wedding. And these were just non-negotiables. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit about my dress journey, because I feel like that really illustrates this principle. And the dress is important for me. I love fashion, and I've always kind of dreamt about my wedding dress. And I think it was like several years ago, I discovered a designer whose work just really spoke to me. She just creates just very unique wedding dresses. And I kept her on my radar. And when we got engaged last spring and it came time for me to start looking for my wedding dress, I looked through her most recent collections, and there's one dress in particular that really struck me. And I saw it and I was like, that is my dress. It's a designer dress. It's very expensive. And so I started looking at kind of the leading secondhand wedding websites. And I think I got this one off of Still White, if I remember correctly. But so I was kind of keeping an eye out for this particular dress, and it needs to be a certain size, and it came in two tones, like a white and kind of more of an ivory, and I wanted more of the white. And I think it was last August I finally found one from a bridal shop down in Nashville that had a version of this dress, and that had never been worn. And I knew that was my dress, and I knew that it was a couple sizes too big, so it was a sample size, or maybe 3 sizes too big or something. And so I needed to find a great wedding seamstress, but I was able to get my dream dress and to have it altered with care and intention. And really every detail of that experience mattered to me because this investment really aligns with my values. And we're making sure to have a big dance floor and live music because dancing and music are really important to us. And we really want to have a fun time on the dance floor. And yes, having that champagne toast, because celebration and beauty matter to us too. So drawing parallels with business, when you have a limited budget, which we're all operating with, and, to be honest, like what you invest in really counts. And so we need to be really intentional about it. And so for me in my business, usually what I am prioritizing investing in is my own personal development. So coaching, mentoring. I'm always working with some sort of a coach to help me with strategy, to help me with exploring things that I cannot see for myself, with troubleshooting things, with breaking through my own inner glass ceilings. And, growth and alignment, I feel, are always worth the investment, whether that's working with a mentor, taking a course that calls to you, or hiring support in the areas where you're struggling. Just invest in what will help to move you forward and what will help to keep you inspired. So lesson number 4 is to do it differently and to make it yours. And in terms of our wedding planning, one of my favorite decisions that we made is, instead of kind of traditional, what we perceive as, and no offense if anyone likes this is just our opinions, kind of traditional stuffy reception food, we wanted to have really good food, food that people were like excited to eat and that maybe was a little bit more unique. And we found this really great kind of vintage pizza truck. And it's a kind of a retro, beautiful truck. It's a big white kind of old fashioned truck that has wood burning ovens and built into the side of it. And these beautiful awnings that come out over the ovens, and these tables that are set up to have all of these pizzas and salads. And I know that might sound unconventional, but for us, it's going to be memorable and fun. And, we love pizza. We know that our guests love pizza. And it also just felt easy. And we wanted it to be easy. We wanted it to be fun. So we're just continuing to not follow the usual wedding rule book, but we're just really writing our own. This is exactly how I approach my work too. And my programs, my offerings, none of them are cookie cutter. You won't find the things that I'm offering anywhere else. And I blend things that aren't usually blended, like embodiment and IFS and business strategy and women's spirituality and intuitive readings with your guides and your angels. So I really give myself permission to break molds and to innovate and to do the things that feel exciting for me and that the people that work with me enjoy and will get value from. And I want to give you that same permission. Your business doesn't have to look like everyone else's. And in fact, it shouldn't. And really, we need people who are offering things only in the way that you can. And then our 5th and final lesson is to anchor everything in simplicity and in elegance. And these have been the guiding principles through our entire process. Is how can we keep this simple? How can we make this beautiful and elegant? How can we make sure that everything feels really good to us? And every decision that we've made gets filtered through these values. And we found creative ways to avoid excess. Like we're using the same chairs for our ceremony as we are for the reception. Our nephews are just, our ceremony and reception are in the same area, in the same kind of venue. And the ceremony's outside, the reception's inside. And our nephews after the ceremony are just going to move the 50 chairs from the lawn inside and put them at the tables. And we're not having an over the top cake situation. I'm not a dessert person, but we found some really great gluten-free cupcakes that we'd actually enjoy eating. So just looking at those like little pieces and seeing that every element really serves a purpose and feels intentional. And I apply the same philosophy to my programs and to my offerings. And I think about it as like educational design. And really, when things are designed with more elegance, they're more functional. And I don't like to overstuff things with every possible module or every possible bonus. And that often feels overwhelming. It feels overwhelming for me to deliver. It feels overwhelming for my students to be on the receiving side of. So really clear, simple design creates a sense of more spaciousness and calm as we move through the learning experience. And it allows the essential elements to really shine. So whether you're designing a course or writing a sales page or planning your content calendar, you can ask yourself, how can this be simpler? How can I do this in an even more stripped down way? How can this be beautiful? How can this be more elegant? So as I've been moving through this wedding planning process for over a year now, I keep coming back to this particular truth, and that is, whether you're planning a wedding like I am right now or designing something new in your work, the principles really are the same. Start early, get clear on the experience you want to create, invest in what matters most, do it your way, and keep it simple and elegant. And here's something else that I want you to hear. Your business, your relationship with your business is a sacred union too. It's a marriage between your gifts, your soul, and those whom you are meant to serve. And, you could even say that your business is one of your greatest soulmates in this life. And you don't need to do it all. In fact, it's too overwhelming and just too noisy to do it all. But you do need to do what matters beautifully and simply and in tune with your values and in your own right timing. So whether you're mapping out your next launch or choosing your wedding dress, that the deeper invitation really is the same. How can you honor what feels true and not just keep up with the Joneses and do what everyone else is doing, not just doing what you feel obligated to do. So remember that the way you build, your timing, your choices, your values, that is sending a message to people. And there's that saying, like, how you do anything is how you do everything. And you are allowed to do things differently. And when you do, it becomes unmistakably yours. So at mine and Chris's wedding in August, people are going to feel it's unmistakably ours, from just the moment that we sent the invitations to going to our wedding invitation to arriving at the ceremony. We want people to feel like they're really entering into a curated, really thoughtful experience where every detail has been really intentionally prepared for us and for them as we walk through this portal into our own sacred union together. So until next time, stay close to what matters to you, build from that place, and just keep trusting that the rest will follow. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, change doesn't come from listening alone. I invite you to commit to taking one small or large courageous action after today's conversation. One step you can take, if you haven't already, is to sign up for my Sunday journal. It's a weekly newsletter filled with inspiration and reflections about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential to help you become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. You can subscribe at programs-sarahavaughnstover.com/journal. And if you found this podcast valuable, please share it with the women in your world. Also, I'd be very grateful if you'd leave a review. It helps others find resources like this, and I'd love to hear what's coming alive for you after listening today. Above all, keep going, and never forget the unique offerings you and your true self bring to the world. Until next time, I'm sending you my heartfelt support.